Let's start off with a community question, shall we? Jared, can you ask our community question today?
I absolutely can. Barrel of Dice asks, what elements of other board games and tabletop experiences do we bring to our creations at O-Neb?
Okay. I like this question. So, people who are in the board game world, who are living in our Discord channel on a regular basis, they're putting in these questions. And so, this question is asking, other games. What elements of other games or tabletop experiences are we kind of bringing to Orange Nebula? Tom, what do you think? What are you bringing?
Okay. I can force a couple answers to this question
Okay.
and then do the thing where we bend the premise of the question and just reject it on the surface. But I think the thing, if I was to say like positive things that I take inspiration from other tabletop stuff, it's more a sort of like mindset that you can tell a game is bringing.
Okay.
For me, an example of that would be the Arkham horror games, particularly the card games, where it's not so much that I'm taking inspiration from specific mechanics, but more that game is just set up like a giant playground for the designers. And each scenario is a completely standalone thing that is wildly creative. And even if something doesn't work, and it's a bad experience, I kind of don't care because I see they were trying some wild thing and I can't wait to see what the next wild thing they try is.
Mm-hmm.
And that just sort of like design liberation that they're bringing to working on it. Like I like that. Like I took a lot of really strong things away from that was a really cool thing to capture and the experience of that for me.
Yeah, that makes
was really
good
positive.
sense. Mm-hmm. What about you? What do you think about this, Mark? What elements are you bringing or mindsets are you bringing from other games or tabletop experiences into creations at O-Neb?
I found that there's something wonderful about every game that I play, even if I don't like the game at the end of the day. And sometimes it's a mechanic, and sometimes it's the way they approach the graphic design, and sometimes it's, something else. But one of the things I'm realizing lately is I try really hard to break and bend the rules and do something different than all the games that I play or see. But I'm finding that there's a through line to experience that sometimes something simple and known is really valuable to protect because people can attach themselves to it quicker. So it increases the approachability a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes it's like what Tom was saying. I'm really attracted to the wild swings that people take, even if they fail. Like that to me is, going for it. And that's kind of where innovation is. And that's usually where I spend my time thinking. But lately I'm kind of like, well, what if this was a little more practical in this area? And then we took a wild swing here, but it's only 15% of the time. And so we kind of protect the integrity of giving people something familiar and not always trying to blow them away with something amazing and fresh and new, because it's really hard to do that.
Jared, do you have thoughts on that too? Like as you're working through some of your projects here at Orange Nebula, what elements are maybe you pulling?
Well, I mean, my number one inspiration in the whole tabletop sphere has been and will forever be Dungeons and Dragons and other tabletop systems that are adjacent. And the elements that I try to take from there and inject into the stuff that I'm creating here primarily is about trying to create and foster more freedom in possibilities and capabilities and abilities for people. And in the sphere of like actually creating things, I find that similar to Tom, I'm more taking like a mindset that I feel while I'm playing other things and then adopting that mindset while I'm actually designing. So for example, the process of creating a survival task and a planet feels very similar to being a GM or a DM in a tabletop situation where you're creating the world and then you're creating the obstacles that are going to be in people's way, but the like moment to moment actual like events that are happening are largely governed by like what the players choose to do. Now you do also kind of get to like adopt the like perspective of the player a little bit in that space where you're actually getting to write out what the some of the characters' responses are to what's happening, and you're actually also getting to write from the perspective of the players. And so, like, dancing back and forth between that is really cool and feels like I'm playing D&D by myself.
Oh, that's fun. I hadn't thought of it that way when you're thinking about an unsettled planet and building and curating and crafting the experience for people in that way.
Well, I'm thinking about like just, I don't know, like my relationship to the game design sphere. One of the things that I notice in board games and video games, just game design in general, is there's this sort of prevailing attitude that, you know, all design is iteration. You know, you take what's been done before and you build on it, and you build on it. And there's, of course, you know, that's going to happen just by the nature of the beast, by the fact that most people get into these things because they're fans of these things, and that, you know, like there's wisdom there, you know. But I think this industry also does have a tendency to stop there, and then everything kind of feels like fan fiction. And I think part of the discipline of becoming a good game designer is recognizing that that's not the only truth about game design. It's not just iterative, and leaving yourself open to what you can bring to it. And I think, like, if you're going to do this as a thing for a living, like, there's no, the thing you need isn't inspiration. You like, if you're going to pull this off, you already have tons of your own inspiration. And sure, you'll pick some up here and there when you're playing other games and things like that. But the main thing that I feel like I learn, and that we talk about sometimes when we're playing other things, is it's more like absorbing cautionary tales of what didn't work, or why it's not working, or why does this feel wrong. And, you know, we really come generously to people's designs and sit there and praise the things that they're doing and really appreciate the effort and stuff. But when we're thinking critically about making our own stuff, we want, you know, why isn't this hitting the table? Why does this feel like too much?
Or even for Jared, if your main focus is that idea of freedom, how can I give more freedom? Like, where does this feel too constricted? You know, if you're looking at those kind of things.
Exactly.
Yeah, so there's a lot to learn from playing other people's games that isn't just, ooh, this inspires me to do that same thing in a slightly different way. There's a much bigger way to pull from those experiences.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Outpost, where we slurp beneath the surface.
Here's your PCP.
No.
Thanks, Grandpa.
My grandmother's ashes.
What?
Wait, what?
What Josh said?
15 people enter the cage, and we'll see who emerges at the
So
end.
that's always really interesting.
Interesting. What else isn't true?
There is nothing but peace and harmony in my life, and I've never butted heads with anyone.
Well, here's a real story. That's not true. None of that's true.
Everyone responds well if you turn into like a sad child.
You're so full of it.